In this video, we are going to talk about superannuation or super. Okay, the next stage where it gets taxed is when your money grows. So we got taxed when money got into super at 15%. When Division 293 kicks in, it is at 30%. Okay, it got taxed when money came in. Now money grows within super, right? Every month it is coming in. Some employers choose to do quarterly, whatever. It's coming in at a regular interval and it is growing, like it is buying shares or whatever they're buying. The fund is doing its own thing and the money is growing. So every financial year, the fund looks at how much it has earned and it is getting taxed at about 15% on the earnings also. And then it is also going to get taxed when you take the money out. A lot of the times it may not be taxed, but depending on the age and the amount of money you have in the fund and when you're taking, it may be taxed. So just learn that it can be taxed at 3 different stages. Definitely when it goes in and while it is growing, while it is coming out, it may or may not be, depending on how much you've got and a whole lot of other factors. There's a lot of time to deal with this, so I'm just only concentrating on these two parts. Now let's talk about contributions and cap. Earlier I spoke about concessional cap, which is $30,000 per year, and you're only taxed at 15% up to $30,000 in your super fund per year. There's another thing called as non-concessional cap. So it's possible that you can pay up to $120,000 per year into your super fund after taxes. When would one do that? Let's say you're getting a lot of inheritance, about 200,000 or 300,000. You're getting a lot of money as an inheritance, and then you're thinking, I don't know what to do with it. It's possible you want to invest somewhere, you want to go and buy real estate, you want to go and buy gold, crypto, whatever. You can do whatever. You can go travel and have fun as well. But let's say you decided to put it into super. So there's a thing called non-concessional contribution as well, and the cap for each year is about $120,000. But if you're getting $200,000 as an inheritance, you can also put all of it in one go. Now you can ask me, oh, you just said $120,000 is the cap. Yes, I told you $120,000 is the cap, but you can bring forward like future years cap in this year and use all of it. So this year it is 120, next year is another 120, whatever, right? So you can bring in the 120 of the next year to this year and still use that money. Again, not something that we want to worry about at this stage because I'm not going to get that much inheritance and I don't know if you want to. And even if you get that much, would you invest in super is something we would want to ask. But this is something that you'd want to know as well. There's concessional and there's non-concessional. Concessional has $30,000 cap, and if you have met the $30,000, you can always use $30,000 from your previous years up to last 5 years. That's before tax. Concessional is all before tax. This is after tax. Non-concessional is up to $120,000 and this is after tax. Okay, up until now we saw a few things. What is super? Who is it been run by? Salary sacrifice, taxes in super, concessional and non-concessional contributions and caps. Next is fees. Super funds aren't free. They charge you fee and you need to be aware of the fees that they charge. Some of the fees that they charge include admin fees, investment fees, insurance premiums, and indirect costs like money used for like buying or selling a fund or stuff like that. So there's admin fees, investment fees, indirect cost, and insurance premiums. It's good to be aware of how much your fund charges. Even like a 0.5% difference in like the fees can make a difference in tens and thousands of dollars in the long run when it is coming to your retirement fund. If it is, let's say a fund charges 1.2%, another one charges 0.75% for a similar basket of investments, and then you want to look at the growth of both of them because it's similar basket of investments, that 0.5 or 0.45%, whatever that was, that itself over a period of like so many years can quickly add up. So you need to be mindful of that. Now let's talk about types of funds and insurances. Depending on who runs the show, there are so many flavors. There's industry funds, there's retail funds, there is corporate funds, and then there is public sector funds. Now, industry funds. It's often run by unions or industry groups. For example, your Host Plus, your Australian Super. Next is retail funds. It's run by banks or financial institutions. For example, AMP, Colonial First State. Next is public sector funds. It's for government employees. Next is corporate funds, set up by big employers for their staff. Also, most funds have insurance products by default. Some of the insurance products that they include are life cover, total permanent disability, and income protection. You may want to log into your super fund and look at what insurances you have and look at the cover as well. See if that cover is enough for you or if the default itself is a bit too much for you. So you can adjust that and the premiums and the charges might adjust accordingly. So the TLDR is go and look at your super fund and look at your insurance premium and see if that's the right one for you still. Next is checking performance. We have so many superannuation funds. So it would be good to compare which fund is doing what and what are the returns of different funds before you go and invest into one. It's possible that you have never looked into super funds. This is your reminder to go check your super fund and see if it is performing at the rate you want it to. Some of the websites that you can use to compare these super funds are, there's one from ATO itself called as Your Super Comparison or something similar, and then there's definitely like your CanStar or Super Ratings that show super performances. One thing of note though, when you're comparing performance of different super funds, make sure you compare like for like comparison. Like for example, you don't want to compare a growth fund to like a conservative fund. Another tip is don't compare like short amount of time, not for like 1 year or something. Compare for like a longer duration, more like your 5 years or 10 years. So the first tip is make sure you try to compare like for like funds. So if you're comparing growth from one provider, try and compare like a growth or balanced or whatever, like a similar sort of product from the from another provider. Also compare for a longer duration, not just a short time frame. I want to quickly touch on using super for first home savings scheme. So with this scheme, you can invest up to $15,000 per year into a super fund. This is on top of your employer's super guarantee. So you can invest up to 15,000. That's the max as of now, I think. The numbers may change. This is being recorded September 2025. So as of now, you can invest up to $15,000 in this first home buying scheme or first home saving scheme. And per year, you can invest up to $15,000. This can be before tax or after tax. And when you are ready to buy your home, you can withdraw the amount that you contributed towards this scheme. You are not allowed to withdraw what your employer puts in as their super guarantee, which is 12% now. Earlier it was 11.5, 11 and all that. So since I've moved in, it has grown from about 9.5% to 12% every year. But anyway, I got digressed. So there's a thing called super home savings scheme, and you can voluntarily contribute up to $15,000 per year into your super. And when you're ready to go and make your home purchase, you can withdraw what you contributed plus the earnings that it made. Let's say you invested $10,000 in year one and it grew to $12,500 by year two, and the next year you invest a bit more. So whatever it grew, just through that money that you deposited towards the scheme, you can withdraw all of it, and the max, not all of it, the max you can withdraw is $50,000. This is something that is good to know if you're new to Australia or if you're looking to buy a new home but struggling to make savings. Maybe this is something that you may want to consider and look deep into. There's something called as first home super savings scheme, up to $15,000 per year. That money will grow, and when you take it out, that amount that it grew by, that also you can take it out, and the max you can take it out is $50,000. Why would you want to do this? Because once again, as I mentioned in that salary sacrifice concept and division 293, all that. But anyway, things that you may want to look into if you're looking to buy your first home and you're struggling to save and you want to use super saving schemes to save it. And the last topic that I want to touch on is SMSF. SMSF is self-managed super fund, and it is exactly what it sounds like. You manage your own super. So you get all the control and flexibility to invest in shares, property, or any private things you want to invest in. The upside is it gives you control and flexibility. The downside is there is a lot of paperwork, there's accounting, there's compliance, and there's all these things that you may want to look into. So it is suggested that unless your super has a value of about $200,000 or more, it's not a good idea to set up SMSF. I don't know. I don't have one, but there's an option out there that you may want to consider if your super fund is already be above $200,000, and if you have the interest to manage it all by yourself. Don't stick with an underperforming fund for decades. Remember, this is one of the biggest investments of your life, so you want to be on top of it, and it needs the love and care as one of your biggest investments of your life. Some takeaways: check your funds, fees, and insurance. Are you really paying for what you need? Consider salary sacrificing, because a little each month would mean your super grows faster, but only if it makes sense in your case. Look at your fund's performance and compare it with others. You may lose like a lot of money if you're in an underperforming fund for decades. And lastly, SMSF gives you control, but only if you have the balance, the knowledge, and the time. I know superannuation is a boring subject, it's not as exciting, but remind yourself that this is one of the biggest investments that you'd make for your retirement. So understanding the basics like fees, fund performance, salary sacrificing options, insurances, and even concessional caps, non-concessional caps can save you like thousands of dollars in the long run. So this is your reminder to go and look at your super today and see if it is at a place where you want it to be. If not, it is not hard at all to move from one super fund to another one. I did this exercise in 2020. So I moved to this country in 2016. From 2016 to 2020, I had never looked into what fund I was. My employer just signed me up for some fund and I was just on that fund. One fine day, I just thought, oh, what is this? Let me look into it. And I was bored. 2020, I know, you would resonate with me. Most of us were bored. So I started looking into all of it and I moved from one fund into a different kind of fund. And since then, the performance has been better. I'm not going to recommend what fund it is. It just suits me. I did my own research and I'm happy with it. You should do your own research, and this is your reminder to go do your research. At least log into your super fund and see where it is at. Go do some comparisons and see if you're happy with your current fund or if you want to move. And if you want to move, it's not hard at all to move. Also, share this video to your friends and people that you want to remind them to go and log into their super funds. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what kind of video I should be making, or if you have any questions, let me know as well. I'll see you in another one. Bye.